There are several articles on the warrant that are being proposed by the planning board. I'm going to talk about Article 8, which deals with accessory dwelling units, also known as ADUs. And ADUs are typically in Manchester, things like a carriage house, an apartment over a garage, an attic apartment, a basement apartment, or simply some kind of living quarters that is attached to your home. And we do have several ADUs around Manchester. The reason why we're proposing Article 8 is that the state passed a new law last year, which as of February of this year went into effect and requires that all residential districts across the state, every city and town, if you own property in a residential district where single family homes are allowed, then you have the right to build an ADU, which the state calls a protected use ADU. We have defined that in Article 8 as a standard ADU. It's 900 square feet or less, basically. And you have the right, it's by right, you don't need a special permit. There are certain restrictions that are allowed to be applied, but right now Manchester doesn't have any restrictions in place. And so that's really the purpose of Article 8. It's to incorporate the definitions and in the new law and to put some to Manchester's goals. Obviously the overriding goal for the state and Manchester is housing. And it's not just any housing, it's accessory housing. So it's accessory to the main, in most cases, a single family home. But it's defined as, that structure is defined as a principal dwelling, and that definition is in Article 8. So some of the rules are listed in Article 8 that the planning board is proposing. And just quickly, one is a prohibition against short-term rental. I guess the first thing I should say enforceable.
Hi, Chris. The audio and video have just cut out completely. Yeah, but I can't see or hear Sue at all.
Oh, yeah, geez, okay.
Shannon too, same with Shannon.
Not hearing anything, turn up the volume.
Yeah, there seems to be some continuing technical difficulties.
Oh,
Mr. Wilson, can you hear me?
Thank you.
yes, we can
Okay.
hear you.
But Mr. Wilson, can you hear me?
I can hear you now, but Sue cut out for about 30 or 60 seconds. And,
Okay, good.
and we lost the video also.
Yeah, it did cut out for a minute.
Can you hear it? Do you know what's going on?
No, apologies, I got one video on the video here, and I can hear everything going on in the room, and I can hear them on the.
Did you read about the bridge?
Okay, can you hear the room?
Yeah,
Yeah, I can hear you.
is that going on?
Thanks
Video's
for the-
working fine now.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
You're very good at this.
Short-term
Article
rentals.
13.
Okay, the other purpose of Article 8 is to fix the part of our current zoning bylaw that is outdated and unenforceable that covers ADUs. We need to get rid of that and replace it with language that complies with the state law and includes guardrails around ADUs so that Manchester can make the law work well for us as well as possible. And so some of those guardrails are a prohibition against short-term rentals, for standard ADUs. We also have included one that standard ADUs shall not be leased for a period of less than 6 months. One off-street parking space is required for a standard ADU as long as it is beyond that infamous half-mile circle from the train station. If your property is within that half mile of the train station, you don't have to provide a parking space. And that comes from the state law. We don't have any say in that. We also added the provision only one standard ADU per lot. And that the standard ADU shall not be separated from the title of the primary unit. And the reason for that is this is supposed to be a unit that is accessory to the main principal dwelling. We're not looking to divide lots up into condos. That's not the purpose of the law, and it's not the purpose of our bylaw. These are accessory dwellings. Other guardrails are submission of architectural floor plans for new units, exterior elevations, an engineering site plan. Obviously comply with all other applicable requirements of zoning, including floodplain rules, ground and surface water rules. The rules that apply to those also will apply to these. If your ADU will be located in our historic district, then just as with other dwellings, the Historic Commission will review it and hopefully approve changes to the exterior of the building. Only one public water and sewer service shall serve a lot on which a standard ADU is located. And all additions to standard ADUs shall comply with lot coverage requirements, primary building setbacks, and dimensional requirements of our zoning bylaws. All additions or structures containing a standard ADU shall be constructed on a permanent foundation. They may not be temporary. So you can't park your camper van in your backyard and consider that an ADU. They need to be permanent structures on foundations. And the standard ADU shall utilize the existing driveway entrance for access. No additional driveways on the lot or anything. That's sort of Article 8 in a nutshell. Any additional comments
Or questions?
or questions?
We have a couple of people online, John Hodges, and I thought I saw Kurt and Rob. Any questions?
I don't have a question, Madam Chair, but I do have a comment.
Mhm. Go
I
ahead.
just want to remind planning board members who are going to be speaking on these articles that I think we're going to be in for a long meeting on April 28th. And so I'm going to try to adhere as much as possible to my 2-minute rule for speaking. I understand completely that some of these articles will require more than 2 minutes. But I would ask members who are speaking, if they want more than 2 minutes, to get in touch with me and tell me how much time they want and why.
Thank you.
Do you foresee any of this to be controversial?
I don't, it's hard to guess. I was sort of going to gauge the controversial aspect of this by the attendance tonight, but I don't think we have a very good gauge here. I suspect some of the articles will be controversial, and with some of the long and complicated ones, like floodplain, who knows?
With respect to Article 8, and Chris will talk about Article 9, we have had quite a few planning board meetings and hearings reviewing them. There's been interest. We've incorporated comments. I don't think Article 8 will be controversial, but I I could be wrong.
I know you've worked very hard to have a number of possible times for people to make their views known, and I appreciate that. It just until we get to the meeting, it's hard to predict.
Absolutely right.
All right, why don't, Chris, you want to just summarize the
Sure.
large
I'll
ADUs?
see, I'll see if I can do this in 2 minutes.
Ready, go.
I have my stopwatch out, Chris.
So, 900 square feet seems like an arbitrary number for a standard ADU. And we know of cases where people might have a garage that's bigger than 900 square feet. Or they want to put an ADU in their existing house, and the way the walls work out is going to end up with more than 900 square feet. Or maybe the most common is that because of perhaps disabilities or some family situation, 900 square feet just isn't enough. So what we're proposing is a large ADU, which can be up to 1,200 square feet, but again, cannot be more than half the size of the existing house. And it requires a special permit. And in districts where 2 families are already allowed, they will not allow an ADU. So if you need a separate unit in the, say, the D district, go get a special permit for a 2-family. All the other conditions that apply to small ADUs would apply to large ones, except we're also saying that these will only be allowed on lots that have a single-family house, just to be clear. Other than that, these are special permits. The ZBA can put conditions on them, require some kind of design review, whatever they want to do. But we just want to give a little more flexibility to the law.
You might want to talk about the parking difference.
Oh, so
You only have 20 seconds.
some of the parking would go along with what the zoning currently requires. So for a 2-family house requires 3 parking spaces. So you put an ADU onto a single-family house, you require a total of 3 parking spaces.
May I ask a question?
Of course.
So the idea of adding an accessory dwelling unit is all good. What if you already have an accessory dwelling unit of the 900 square feet or less on your site?
So your grandfather, you can keep it.
That one can keep it. Can I add a second accessory dwelling?
It's not clear under the state law.
Okay, so that is one question is still and what about the larger unit too? If I get a larger unit,
So if you want a large unit, it can only be on a single-family house that doesn't have an ADU already.
okay. So that's our benchmarks that we're living with.
Yes.
I'm sure that'll be a question that'll be raised. When
It's a
can I
question
have it?
in the frequently
So,
asked.
yeah, likely.
I read the frequently asked questions. I wasn't sure I got the answer. I was hoping.
Well, if you have other frequently asked
Yeah.
questions,
We can add.
we can
that.
add them.
Yeah.
Or infrequently asked
Yeah.
questions. Okay. I just summarize the floodplain zoning. Alan, it's long, but I'm hoping the discussion will be short.
Me too.
The purpose of this article deletes the existing floodplain zoning and replaces it with a new floodplain set of regulations that are pretty much word for word from the state's floodplain regulations. And the purpose is to protect public health, eliminate new hazards within flood areas, prevent public emergencies resulting from water quality, contamination, or pollution, avoid loss of utility services, and eliminate costs associated with response and cleanup of floods, and reduce damage to public and private property. But perhaps most important, by having this bylaw following the state model bylaw exactly, and we've had the language approved by the state. This entitles people to, it meets the requirements for their flood insurance. So it has a series of floodplain overlay districts and has a number of sort of common sense provisions within those floodplain districts. The districts are determined by FEMA maps, and the bylaw uses a July 2025 date for the FEMA maps. And that's what we've been told is the correct date. So I think that's the summary.
Well done.
You have no questions, right?
And there will be maps.
And
right?
the maps will be posted as people come in, if people can figure out how to read them
You think the fact that it's verbatim.
verbatim from
Yeah,
the state.
that-
I do think it's important to mention the July
Mhm.
date because it seems like it's an error.
Yeah.
Did you check, have you checked that with Eric yet? Okay, great.
have to use.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Sarah, your plan is to post the maps in the lobby as people come in?
Yes,
I'm a little concerned about that because if we have the large turnout, I expect we will, having people stop to read maps is going to slow the check-in process down.
all right, well, why don't we think about that?
Well,
We
we
could-
could
can you have a
have them
handout?
along the sides.
Get them on the sides.
Handout, or is it too?
It's too
Too
They're
small.
pretty
much,
intricate, yeah.
How many maps are there?
You can't even, it's hard to read even
Yeah.
on
Right.
11 by 17. so-
How many maps are there? 9 maps.
Yeah, I'm not sure the net maps
Yeah,
add
maybe-
that much except
Maybe we should
confusion.
skip the maps.
Okay, thank you, Alan. We'll take that under
And the
advisement.
maps are available on the website.
The maps are available on the FEMA website.
Would it be helpful to add?
Can they be available on the
Reference to
town
that.
website?
They are.
Yeah.
They're on
Yeah.
the Planning board website and.
Maybe what we
on
should
the
do is
town's
put the
website.
website on that we could have some more frequently asked questions. We could put the FEMA map location on that.
Yeah, maybe with
Where
a,
people can find them, yeah, I think that's a
Yeah.
better idea.
how about with a
Okay.
QR
QR
code or
code,
something?
Yeah. I don't know.
I think
think
more
that's
people
the-
are. I think some people might be QR code limited.
Outed.
You don't want people on their phones while during, anyway. Okay. All right, you want to talk about the deletion of the introduction, Peter? Very simply.
That's article,
Yeah, I'm jumping around.
yeah. That's 13, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Most of them looking at
It
you.
is to amend the town of Manchester zoning bylaws by deleting the following section, the introduction section. And it will be relegated to the website, and it won't have any impact on the zoning bylaws by placing it there as opposed to part of the entire bylaw.
Great.
Is that clear?
And we're doing this to keep the information current,
Yes.
rather than having the currently, the introduction has to have an amendment at town meeting in order to correct errors that are not, don't change the meaning of the bylaw. So, okay, I'm sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit here. Oh, I should say that Article 10 is a vote to prohibit short-term rentals in accessory dwelling units. And that will be passed over if Article 8 passes. It's simply a prohibition. The intent of accessory dwelling units is to provide housing that is accessory to a primary dwelling, not to provide access for Airbnbs or VRBOs. The next one is the establishment of associate members. And Gordon, you're going to speak on this at town meeting. Do you want to speak to it now, or do you want?
Sure.
Okay.
This one is near and dear to my heart, considering I am the de facto, the embodiment of what you do. So the intent of this is to bring on 2 associate members here in the event. And the reason why they'd be brought on is they would be in the event that in an absence on the existing board, the inability to act or conflict of interest on the part of any regular member of the board. So essentially, these persons, these two people will be brought on a staggered basis. They would be a 1 and a 2-year term initially for each one, and then thereafter it would be a 2-year term. And then the idea is to bring them on in the event there was a necessity and the need to vote for special permits and such. And
Great.
it's me.
And they'd be
You're a
appointed
full
by
member
the,
though,
appointed by the planning board and the select.
right?
Yeah, selected by the planning, yes, jointly selected and voted on by the planning board and the select board.
And Rob had asked if there was controversial. I think that there's some disagreement among what we've heard in public hearings about who should appoint the planning board or planning board and select board. The reason we did planning board and select board is that's how vacancies are currently filled.
That's how we got Gordon.
That's how we got Gordon. Okay. The next one, Article 12, I think.
Yeah.
Is expanding the criteria for site plan review. Site plan review is a overview with public hearing and public notice for certain conditions. And it gives the abutters an opportunity to make comments and to provide input on plans. Right now, our bylaw only has site plan review for a few provisions that are scattered throughout the bylaw. We talked about that with the MBTA zoning, for example. But the big one that is triggered, that's named in section 12 currently, is the addition of 5 or more, or using, expanding or changing the use requiring 5 or more parking spaces. So what we've done is expand this list to mostly include a range of uses that are for commercial use. And I personally see this as a beginning, not necessarily an end. We may revise this over time as we see additional things that could benefit from site plan review. So it's a part of our ongoing effort to update and our bylaw. I feel like people can read what those are rather than having to go through them. Okay. So I think those are, did I forget any by jumping around?
You tricked me into. You tricked me.
I tricked you.
Yeah, it did.
Okay,
Keep it to-
all crystal clear, Rob?
It sounds like the floodplain ones in Article 8, we really have to agree. We have to do it.
Yes.
Um, Just out of morbid curiosity, what happens if we go down?
Morbid curiosity. People will not be able to continue to purchase federal flood insurance.
People in those overlay districts.
Yeah. Where they're
Yeah.
required to usually.
So we're required to have this bylaw in our zoning.
But if we don't vote for Article 8, the state law is already in effect and people could just,
Article 8 is a standard
the
ADU.
small ADUs, people could just build them.
And there won't be any restrictions. Article 8 includes our restrictions, so.
Yeah, and we've included as many restrictions as I think kind of as we can to, as the law allows. In the intent of those restrictions is really to focus on housing, not short-term rentals.
Condos.
We can understand that short-term rental or short-term lease, 1-2 months, does give people additional income, which is sort of a secondary benefit for sure. But for neighborhoods and the community, we really are looking to find to create a variety of housing, and this is one tool. So.
Is it clear to you, Rob? Are these clear?
Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
Also, feel free to reach out. Got 2 weeks to town meeting, so, or a week and a half. So,
Yikes.
anybody else? There's a, Lindsay Banks or, Jonathan Hodges or Galaxy 15. Any questions or, things that are unclear? We have a new frequently asked questions on ADUs, which we will be posting to the website. But you certainly can ask questions, infrequently asked questions now if you want,
That may become frequently.
or
asked
Jane,
questions.
or. No. Okay. Great. Any other discussion? Oh, Jonathan's trying to trying to stay informed. Great. Well, thank you for coming. Any other questions? I think we've gone over who's gonna speak, ADU, basically what we did tonight.
Right.
The seconders are still a little bit, I've asked Mary if she wants to second a couple of them. I haven't heard back.
And you'll send me your notes on yours at some point.
Yeah.
Should we have Peter read the floodplain word for word?
Enter it into the record. Alan, you wouldn't mind, would you?
Absolutely not.
Maybe I do it in a different language.
Clearly out of, well, you can do it in Dutch if you want to.
Okay. That would be appropriate.
Ik spreek Nederlands.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, everybody. If people have questions, please reach out. Mark is a good resource, or I'll be away for a few days, but
And this is
Other
Alan's
members.
official last.
yeah.
So this is I thought you fooled me. I thought the last meeting was your last meeting,
No,
Alan.
this is last.
This is.
No, my term doesn't end until May. So I have one last hurrah.
You're gonna go out on the floodplain.
And ADUs, we won't even try to do that. for 10 years.
Rowing furiously.
All right, great. Well, thank you, everybody, for coming, and
Move to adjourn.
Sue moves to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Oh,
Aye.
I want to stay.
Yeah.
I just want to thank you all. I know you've put a lot of work into all of these articles, and on behalf of the town and the voters, I appreciate it.
Well, we have a lot of articles, unfortunately, this year, but hopefully most of them will go quickly.
Fingers
Yeah.
crossed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Coming around.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Rob.
Rob.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.